Now, I didn't really see all that much this year. I don't even feel like I saw enough to warrant making a top 10 list. So, I know what the title says, this is actually a top 8 list. That being said, let's get on with it! This is an excellent example of a biopic working as a reflection of its subject matter, rather than working as a by-the-books retelling of what happened in history. It tells Brian Wilson's story by alternating between the times when the Beach Boys were working on the, now acclaimed, Pet Sounds album, and when Brian was under the care of his abusive psychotherapist Dr. Eugene Landy, which subsequently led to his loss of sanity. The two timelines can get a little distracting, especially when the two actors playing Brian Wilson, Paul Dano and John Cusack, don't really resemble one another, but the movie still works as a whole because it's presented as this emotionally affecting mood piece. Its score from Atticus Ross, for example, blends Beach Boys music with these very hypnotic melodies that all work towards accentuating just how much Brian is losing it, so to speak. And all of this makes the story feel super engaging and interesting, as if his story wasn't already interesting enough. This movie had me dying, girl. Well, every now and then it did. For the rest of its runtime, it had me in shambles. Through its at times frustrating but mostly self-loathing main character Greg, played wonderfully by Thomas Mann, great time. The film explores the act of dying as an unaccountable and obviously inevitable process that can also engender objectively worthwhile friendships. Now, the idea it explores is not particularly new. I mean, come on. But the manner in which it chooses to present its story and this idea is wildly inventive. It embraces a level of self-awareness that works towards separating it from movies like The Fault in Our Stars and other cancer flicks by making its main characters, Greg and Earl, these very vulnerable amateur filmmakers. And so, throughout the movie, we're exposed to the wide array of surprisingly clever and funny parody films they've worked on, all of which serve to accentuate the film's stylized editing and energetic camera work, and ultimately give us some insight on how these characters, and perhaps even the writer and director, feel most comfortable grieving, by making abstract movies about their feelings. It ultimately felt very genuine in its intentions, and made the entire experience of watching the film feel very earnest and even heart-wrenching, especially by the end. The film ultimately works towards presenting its main characters as two sides of the same coin, and in doing so, it provides us with an understanding of the varying ways ego and self-absorption can affect an individual's perspective on, I guess, life in general. Both David and David share an anxiety that affects their respective abilities to communicate with people in an earnest or genuine manner. This then allows for a series of sequences wherein the two actively try to alienate one another, and that's when the film is at its most fascinating and introspective. The majority of the film's runtime consists of Jesse Eisenberg and Jason Segel verbally attacking each other for essentially being the same person. And to see them extend whatever feelings of self-loathing, not sure if that's the right term to use, but they share onto each other is emotionally affecting and even devastating, especially given the outcome of David Foster Wallace. He kills himself. And director James Ponzell presents the relationship so delicately and realistically that he manages to capture the beautiful yet, I guess, inherently fleeting nature of the moments wherein the two characters appear happy with both themselves and, as a result, each other. There's not really much I can say about this one. It's one of the more abrasive films I've ever seen in that it's incredibly unapologetic in its portrayal of its main character as just the worst, most miserable kind of person. Greg Turkington stars as a fictionalized version of his stand-up character Neil Hamburger, who tells incredibly unfunny jokes that consist of him farting into microphones and insulting audience members as he tours across America. I'm sure there's something to be said about celebrity and what entertainment truly means, but I'm not entirely sure what exactly, because the movie is told in such a weird fucking way. It's crazy, but I definitely recommend it, because I had a lot of fun watching it. It Follows works on so many levels, and while it may not be especially scary for a horror movie, it is really unsettling. And that's because director David Robert Mitchell, 1, makes us genuinely care about the film's main characters as they're terrorized and followed by this enigmatic and invisible figure, and 2, in its closing moments, comforts us with the idea that figures such as these and the real-world concepts they represent don't have to be faced alone. The comfort expressed in that final frame give the film an incredibly human quality that feels universally accessible and honestly, just really sweet. So if you're afraid of growing up and what adulthood holds and looking for a movie that'll tell you it's okay, but will also still present tons of weird and freaky imagery prior to that, then It Follows should do the trick. I love it with all my whittle hot. Hey Steve, get me a job. Now this film is as much about Steve Jobs as The Social Network was about the creation of Facebook. It uses Jobs' life as the groundwork for what is ultimately a story about a man struggling to connect with people. Now even that is reminiscent of The Social Network, but this movie, thanks to Danny Boyle's direction, has this incredibly energetic and flashy style that just makes every aspect of the film look beautiful, despite its focus on Jobs' at least seemingly ugly personality. The way it's structured also works towards emphasizing the ways in which his character alienates everyone in his life, making his arc feel both heartbreaking and infuriating. None of this, by the way, detracts from how visceral and entertaining Steve Jobs is as a movie-going experience, so go see it! Sicario. was Sicario. Sicario. It's all presented from Emily Blunt's perspective as an FBI agent known for doing her work by the books who volunteers to take part in a task force that would escalate tension and hostility among the varying drug cartels in order to somehow take down an even bigger kingpin. Through this, director Denis Villeneuve takes us into the unfamiliar world of America's war on drugs and the shady, snake-like tactics used by government agents to get the job done. As the story continues to unravel, the amount of suspense we feel just builds and builds, thanks to the drum-heavy and low-tone score by Johan Johansson, the cinematography by Roger Deakins that emphasizes the dark and morally ambiguous manners in which our government chooses to go about handling this war, and a bummer of an ending that also encourages us to acknowledge the futility of violence as well as its constancy, without ever stating there's anything we can really do about it. That's pretty sad. But it does make for a really good movie! This movie is Mad Max! It doesn't get more furious than this! Hit the road, every other movie from 2015, because Mad Max is mad good. That's all I have to say about that. Mad Max is my #1 movie of the year. Just go see it.